Hello YouTubers, DIY Dan here, and today I'm starting a new Porsche 928 project. This will be the first part of many more videos where I hope to video log the process of me restoring Big Red. To give you a little backstory, I bought this car on Craigslist almost 10 years ago for $2,000, and the pictures you are looking at are from the original seller's ad. You're probably thinking, wow, what a deal, but if you ever heard the saying, there's no such thing as a cheap Porsche, well, this car is definitely the definition of that. For what we have into this car, we could have probably bought a mint example, but where's the fun in that? To the DIYers out there, the answer would be absolutely nothing. Granted, the car's been a huge undertaking to get to this point. There were just some things we couldn't fix, like the frame, as this requires specialized equipment that only a body shop will have. If you look at the engine bay photo and the Craigslist ad, you can see the strut brace has been bent up with a peak at the center, telling me the two frame rails have been moved inwards. Unfortunately, the damage wasn't just limited to the frame rails. The radiator support was also damaged. Since this 928 has been good to our family, and it's honestly where I received my master's degree in 928 repair, it deserves to be fixed right. Now that the engine is coming out to fix a lot of oil leaks, this is the best time to get the frame fixed. I understand the car will probably never be a Concours winning 928, but it has definitely been a lot of fun and even provided some good old male bonding between the father and I. So let's go ahead and get started. We decided to pull the engine as it was leaking oil from just about every seal. With the engine out, not only can we fix a lot of things much easier, we can also get the frame fixed. Here in this video, I'm removing the cylinder heads to get them rebuilt. When installing a new cylinder head and torquing the nuts, you always start at the middle and work your way out. But when removing a cylinder head, the sequence is the complete opposite. You start on the outside nuts and work your way in until all the nuts are loosened. The cylinder head nuts were extremely tight and even required a breaker bar to crack loose. I actually had to enlist some help from my wife so she could hold the engine down as I tried to crack the nuts loose. Once I had all the nuts out, I used a rubber mallet to break the seal between the cylinder head and engine block while applying medium force. As you can see in this video, it took some time to get those cylinder heads off. When parts have been on a car for 30 plus years, they don't want to remove, so take your time and eventually persistence will pay off. Once I got the cylinder heads removed, I really didn't know what to expect. The car was always a strong runner, but always had somewhat weak oil pressure. I was really glad to see that most of the bores were in really good shape, except for two, which had some light scoring that could be felt with my fingernail. Another positive is the cylinder head surfaces had no pitting, which is indicative of someone changing their coolant at regular intervals. I have seen a lot of 928 cylinder heads ruin because the coolant will turn acidic and eat into the aluminum, rendering them useless until a machine shop can repair them. Now that the driver's side is all broken down, it's time to start on the passenger side. I start by removing the camshaft bearing caps. When removing the camshaft bearing caps, be very careful as these bolts are very easy to strip. I found if I cleaned the bores of these bolts, they were less likely to strip on me. Keep in mind that the driver and passenger side bearing caps share the same numbering sequence, so be sure not to mix sides, as it's important that these bearing caps be reinstalled in the exact same locations they were removed from. Now that the camshafts are removed, it's just a matter of loosening the cylinder head nuts and removing the cylinder head. Here's a quick time-lapse video of that. Once I finished breaking down the engine and had the cylinder head sent off to be rebuilt, it's time to get started on the body. All the front body panels, including the fenders, spoiler, and front bumper cover, needed to be removed in order for the body shop to properly straighten the frame. When taking apart an old Porsche like this, you really start to have a newfound respect for the car, because it's built so unbelievably well. I mean, this type of build quality is a thing of the past and is a lost art. If I remember right, there are a total of 21 or 22 bolts for just one fender. Who does that? Porsche, apparently. You also won't find any cheap plastic clips that break or get brittle with age. Porsche only used bolts or screws for their body panels in this time period. When working on an old Porsche like this, it's obvious Porsche adopted a money-is-no-object approach to their build quality. When I compare the material quality of my 928 to my Cayenne, it's almost depressing even thinking about it. On one hand, the 928 is rich in quality materials, whereas my Cayenne is predominantly plastic. Yes, I understand this type of build quality was probably the downfall of Porsche in the 1980s. It's still disappointing to see the newer cars with so much plastic in them, especially considering how much they cost. Now that all the bolts and screws are removed, it's time to start removing the front fenders. You really want to be careful during this process as the fenders are made out of aluminum and will bend easily. Porsche used some type of goopy substance to bond the fenders to the frame, which makes for removing them rather difficult. I found if I tugged on the fender slowly, you can start to feel the goopy substance breaking away. Remember, patience and delicacy are the key here. Here's a quick time-lapse video of me removing the driver's side front fender. Finally, the front end body panels and engine are disassembled. I'm not ready to drop the car off at the body shop where they will use their specialized machine to realign the frame. If some of you are wondering, the cost to align this frame will be around $600. The only reason why this is so reasonable is I did all the labor-intensive work myself. If I had to pay someone to remove the fenders, hood, bumper cover, and engine, it would have been cost prohibitive, and probably would have broken into the five-figure territory pretty easily. Honestly, I'm just glad Big Red is finally getting fixed right. Not only will the front tire build go down, but I'll actually be able to install a factory strut brace using all 4 bolts. You know, it's the little things. However, there are a few things I'm up in the air about regarding the engine. Should I get the bores fixed and rebuild the engine, or slap a set of new rod bearings in along with my rebuilt cylinder heads and call it a day? I'll admit, the Alusil cylinder process isn't something I'm familiar with and would rather leave it to professionals for this type of work. As a DIYer, sometimes you have to know your limitations, as it could end up costing you much more in the long run. Let me know what you think by leaving your thoughts in the comments section. Since this car will be at the body shop for the next few days, that'll give me enough time to get started on the new engine wiring harness, so stay tuned for part 2.